All right, so we are live. We're going to be talking about all things pay-per-click advertising, and I am super excited to be joined here by Stephen Noch.
What's going on?
To the stage. Good to see you, Stephen. Thank you for joining us here on this Ask Me Anything About Pay-per-click Advertising. So this is an awesome chance to get your questions answered, get a different perspective. We already have some questions coming in, so if you've got questions, we've got answers. With key is you got to ask them in time. Every time I do this, we run out of time at the end, so make sure to ask your questions now while we still have time. And so, Stephen, real quick for folks, can you introduce yourself and let them know who you are and how you know stuff about ads?
Yeah, so my name's Steven, and I am an Amazon PPC manager. I'm a freelancer primarily. That's my only source of income right now. Is I just went out and hustled on Upwork for a little bit, found some people looking who needed help managing their ads, and I've been doing that. So I've got 5 or 6 brands that I work with. Some of them have multiple accounts, so only like 10 or 11 accounts total. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I got my start back in 2019, so about 5 years ago. Just discovered digital marketing, thought it was really cool. Landed in the Amazon PPC space after just Googling how to do PPC and just kind of trying to learn. So yeah, that's what I do.
Cool. Well, the good news is for the folks watching, you've gotten a chance to see quite a bit of what works, how to optimize campaigns, and all that fun stuff. So we'll be getting into all of that. So looks like we've got Bartolomej
from Poland.
Oh, you know Bartolomej from
We
Poland?
connected on LinkedIn. Yeah, just a few days ago.
That, like he says, 11 accounts for one person is kind of a lot. I would agree.
Yeah. So it's like 5 brands, but some of them, they're in they have multiple brands or multiple marketplaces. So 11 total, but it's not too bad. 5 clients.
Okay, well, good, but it's a lot to manage. And AMZ Joy says Stephen is the man. Bartolomej, hopefully I just said it correctly, says yeah, smiley face.
Bart.
Just call me Bart. Okay, thank you, Bart. Appreciate that. That's much easier for me. Yeah, it's got to be way easier. So Bart is from Poland. Did I get that correct?
I believe so. Yeah. We were messaging back and forth. He said he was had a whole community of Polish Amazon sellers and advertisers.
Got it. Yes, my wife's side of the family, there's quite a bit of Polish.
So. Oh, nice. Yeah, I've got some Polish blood in myself as well on my dad's side.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't have Polish blood, but my kids do, and my wife does.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So on that note, let's get into some questions here as they're coming in. All right. So Abdullah asks, after expensive PPC and fees, update seller in frustration. Is that a question or is that just an observation? Because it's true. There's a lot of sellers who are frustrated with ads and whatnot. What is the future of Amazon ANA? Oh, maybe it says and, just a typo. And Amazon PPC skills. Yeah, because it looks like they amended that. What is the future of Amazon PPC skills? So yeah, that's a good question. So give your answer on kind of where you see things going, and I'll give my shameless plug here in a second.
Yeah. AI is pretty big technology. It's already revolutionizing the way in which we do things. And a lot of people think that's gonna totally, just take over Amazon. It probably will, but as far as all of the other challenges to tackle that AI can face, there are a lot of other much larger addressable markets than Amazon PPC, right? We're talking about people are you've got massive computer learning systems that are able to generate videos, generate images, all these kinds of things, to do writing, cataloging, all that stuff. The companies right now that are starting up Amazon PPC AI, they're much smaller teams than OpenAI, ChatGPT, that kind of stuff. So I think we still have quite a lot of ways to go before, at least I'm really concerned about AI taking over what I do currently. So I still think there's a lot of value in being able to understand all the nitty-gritty details that go into Amazon PPC managing bids, campaign strategies, all that kind of stuff. So I think we still got quite a few years of that. I wouldn't start getting complacent and lazy thinking, oh, I don't have to learn this because AI is going to do it anyways. And on top of that, those who I think I've heard Stephen Pope say this several times, and a lot of other people say this, but AI is not going to replace your job, but the person who uses AI will. So I can tell you, out of a lot of my friends, we all love using ChatGPT. They're all using it wrong, though. So there's ways to use AI, right? Like there's a lot of strategy that goes into how you craft the prompts and how you actually work your way towards a certain purpose or goal with it. So even then, I still think you're not going to be able to use AI well for Amazon ad management without really understanding the finer minutia of how to actually manage ads. So still, I would recommend anybody should be in the weeds on bulk sheets in the ad console. And I think that value in understanding that deeply is going to have many years to come.
Yeah, that's a very good point that, AI might be taking over some things. And if anything, I think that actually just is good. So I'll give an example. So we run ads at my Amazon guy for, clients and leads and whatnot, like to get clients, I should say. And last week we had made some changes based on what we learned in a course that a guru had taught. And challenge was, it was all very kind of dated of like in the Google world, a lot of the people, a lot of Google ad agencies still want to control everything and not give as much to Google. And our spend was almost the same from week to week. And our conversions tanked. So like our leads and bookings and all that just fell to the ground because the problem is what we were kind of being taught to do was to out Google, and that's just not going to happen. Amazon's algorithm is behind Google's algorithm, I think, from an ad standpoint, but it's moving that direction. Like if you look at where it was a couple of years ago, there's so many more things you could do, and it's gotten a lot savvier. Things are moving in a whole different direction. Now, if someone's saying, hey, how do I make Amazon work? As Stephen was saying, you still got to know like all the ins and outs of how to run ads. You got to stay on top of things. One of the things you could do, which is now my shameless plug, is Stephen here and both Stephen Noch and Stephen Pope are both one of our many speakers at our upcoming PPC Mastery Summit. And so you can go to ppcmasterysummit.com, grab a ticket for less than $10. You can check out over 20 PPC experts sharing with you what is working today with Amazon ads, both what's working today and some foundational principles that will be working pretty much whenever. So definitely check that out. All right, so next up, Nabil, I apologize for anyone's name I butcher here. How should we set up our campaigns for newly launched products? This could be a very controversial answer with lots of tears and people getting upset feelings, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, everything's always going to be a little bit different for everybody, depending on what niche you're in, what product you're launching, the stage of the product, the average order value, the seller history, lots of things that are going to drive nuances. But I'd say as a general best practice, what I like to do, if it's a brand new product, is I don't like starting with an auto campaign. A lot of people like to jump into just, launch an auto, let it start generating some research. But if the product has no real keyword like search history that Amazon's been using to figure out what this product is, what's the most relevant stuff for it, those auto campaigns aren't going to do very well before the product's been indexed. So I like to start with, usually if you've created a product, you've already done some preliminary keyword research because you found some keywords with good demand, not a lot of saturation, and that was what you decided you were going to make that product for. So I like starting with those keyword lists. If you haven't done any keyword research yet, you just had some product, then do a little bit of keyword research, find the most relevant stuff with the best volume. And I would just start just kind of almost like a product launch indexation strategy campaign that's really just kind of going after those top keywords, mostly focusing on phrase match and exact match, just to try to generate some indexation and help Amazon figure out what your product is. And then after that, you can start expanding out to broad match and then add on those auto campaigns after Amazon's system's gotten a little bit smarter and figured out what your product is.
Okay, cool. So basically you're saying start more specific and then go wider.
Yeah, you got to teach Amazon, teach their search engine what you are.
That's very true, because the algorithm is just getting data. If you think about all an algorithm is kind of oversimplified here, but basically a series of if-then statements. This happens,
Yep,
do this,
exactly.
if this, and this, and this. There's just a lot of if-thens, and
Yep.
it's relatively complex. So it's got to know, like, what is most likely to get to a sale, because that's what Amazon cares about. All right, that's great. Next up, we have Bart asks, first thing, Amazon PSP, clarified that. DSP, we do not have access to that. No need or so. Do you know any way to get access to it apart from buying it out?
Yeah, because I think the barrier to entry, they're always changing it and raising it. I think you need to be spending a minimum of $30,000 a month or something on DSP alone to get access to it. So to get your own like private seat. Otherwise,
to go direct to Amazon.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can go through third-party agencies who basically act as an intermediary on your behalf. So I think Kepler Group, something like that, is one of those agencies, and they have their own like fees associated with it and different minimums. Theirs might be a little lower, like $5,000 a month or something like that. So it's been several years since I've worked with Kepler. I worked with them back in like 2019, 2020. But I mean, DSP overall is not super. I mean, depending on the stage of the brand you're in, I would say if you're not willing to drop $30K a month on DSP, it's probably not right for you anyways. So if you're not a brand that's already spending on the search side of things, $200,000, $300,000 a month, I wouldn't even really get too worried about DSP. Amazon's really building out the sponsored display side of things, and that's going to be able to get you like 60 to 70%, maybe even 80% of the results that DSP could. The main thing that DSP unlocks are a few additional audience targeting abilities. So it's just a little bit more manual than sponsored display. I would say sponsored display is kind of like an auto campaign version of display, and DSP is like the manual version of display. So you have a lot more control in DSP, but with the fees and the spend associated with it, it's really not worth it unless if you're a mega brand.
Yeah, so the thing of it is people got to remember is DSP is demand side platform, so you're trying to generate more demand. So you're really just going up the funnel. So like sponsored products is basically like, hey, do you want this product or not? And then DSP is kind of like, hey, you might be interested in these type of things. Come follow this. Like it's much higher up the funnel, so you're not going to get the same return, but it could return more people through your sponsored products.
Yeah, and I would say even with those top of funnel strategies, I find a lot more value going into if your objective is to drive awareness and consideration. I would say that like Facebook and TikTok, those video ads are that appear natively as people are swiping and scrolling through social media, I think do a lot better job of driving that engagement compared to these DSP ads that are just kind of appearing on random websites. So I would rather put my dollars on those other ones. The nice thing about DSP is that it's all integrated with your Amazon sales. So when you're using multiple channels, they don't integrate as well. But I'd rather put my first top of funnel dollars into those other platforms versus DSP.
Yes, and I believe it was Nadine Chopper from BidX, who's also a speaker at the upcoming PPC Mastery Summit.
Oh yeah.
In her presentation, she talked about I believe it was her presentation. So if I'm misquoting, sorry, Nadine. That don't go into DSP until you've exhausted all of the other ways that you can get ads through sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display before then going to DSP. All right. So Eddie says, my exact campaign is running like broad. How can I control it? I have a lot of wasted clicks. How can I run exact like before when it only run on the exact keyword?
Unfortunately, you can't. That's been a major piece of my feedback to the Amazon reps. They're always like, I'm like, oh, you should be spending more and increasing your budget, all this kind of stuff. And I said, how about first you fix exact match and then I'll spend more. So that's how my calls with my my Amazon reps go. But
for background, can you just fill people in a little bit?
Yeah. So Amazon changed the definition of exact match, that it now allows for synonyms, which is
what they believe a synonym to be.
Yeah. I think that, and it's so far off. I think the best example is I have a client that sells like tape measures, and we keep on appearing in searches for duct tape. and Scotch
Oh.
tape. Yeah, way off. For exact match tape measure, here's duct tape. So
I mean, you could use it to measure things, I guess.
yeah, so honestly, from what I've seen, I don't think phrase match is doing that same like matching intent and stuff. So if you have phrase match tape measure, obviously you can have a lot more longer tail search terms that come through there, but I don't think it's switching the actual phrase itself up. So it seems like phrase is actually a little bit more accurate now than exact, ironically.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I could be wrong on that, but at least from what I've seen, it seems to be happening. So maybe, yeah. So the official advice is just be really on top of your negative keywords and just do just negate. So I can just take the word duct and do negative phrase, and that should cover all of the other variations of duct tape that are coming through, as well as Scotch. So you just really got to be on top of the negatives. But unfortunately, no, there's no way to make exact again.
Which is funny because they use synonym, but that's not a synonym. Like tape, like tape is the word, but measure and duct are completely different terms.
I know. Yeah. Technically it's not, they don't say synonyms, they say words of similar intent.
Oh, similar intent. As we defined it. Because we want to help you broader. Spend more.
Yeah.
We're just doing it for your own good.
Yeah. It's like you're selling.
In fairness to them, eventually that will get better, but it's painful, I'm sure.
But similar intent is so broad, right? I could be selling raincoats and I'm showing up for umbrellas. You know, it's like, what's the point of broad match then?
Right.
I thought that was the point of broad.
Yeah, they're just going all over the place with that. Well, it's funny because Google, I'm almost positive, have gotten rid of the broad match modifier.
The modified, yeah.
Yeah, so like they kind of are now going more specific. Well, but at the same time too, their algorithm just kind of does what it wants to anyway. So anyway, never mind. The seller man asks, can you explain the placement modifier you guys use to adjust bids?
Yeah. So come to the Amazon PPC Summit because I'm going to be doing a whole presentation on this, really diving into the weeds. The short version is that I think 90% of Amazon PPC managers are doing placements wrong, misunderstanding how they work. The prevailing way of managing placements is they'll increase a placement if it's increase for a placement if it's below your target ACoS, and decrease if that placement's above your target ACoS. So let's just say I'm looking at top of search. I'm targeting 30% ACoS. Top of search is currently at 50% ACoS with like $3 CPCs. People would say, okay, you reduce the placement for top of search. The reason why that doesn't work, why it breaks, is because there is no bid for top of search. Like you don't have a set bid. You're not bidding $3 for top of search. Right. You have a bunch of keywords with bids. And then this is just, the placement is just a multiplier on top of all those bids. So
yeah, how much more do you want to bid for it?
Exactly. And top of search, you could already have it set to 0% and still be getting a $3 CPC there with a 50% ACoS because you have a keyword with a $3 bid that's getting a 50% ACoS and driving most of that top of search. So obviously the increase based on your target ACoS and the ACoS for that placement doesn't work there because you can't go negative on top of search or on any of those placements. Amazon doesn't let you go negative for sponsored product placements. So clearly that method doesn't work. I don't know why people still use it. And I'm like, it literally breaks in, 90% of scenarios, product pages mostly, where you're usually seeing people already have product pages set to 0%. And they're still getting really high ACoS and a lot of spend there. Clearly, this method doesn't work. And then the other thing is that you're treating these placements as if they're bids, trying to increase or decrease to hit a target ACoS, when in reality, you have to combine these placement settings with your keyword bids because they work together to create one ultimate CPC. So you have to work them together, and that's what we'll be really diving into the weeds on. But I'll just tell you our approach and how we do things and how we've seen really solid results and success for clients is there's 3 placements. You can increase for any 3 of them, but you can't go negative. So you're going to identify the worst performing placement. That worst performing placement you'll set to 0%. And then the other 2 placements you will increase based on how much better they are performing relative to the worst performer. So the worst performer, typically product pages, you're going to set that to 0% because we can't go negative on that placement. We have to go downbid all of the keywords to kind of create a pseudo kind of like a negative effect on product pages specifically. Let's just say product pages is like 25% worse than everything else. You're going to calculate all your keyword bids, then reduce those all by an additional 25% in order to kind of downbid the product page placements. And then you increase for rest of search, increase for top of search. So we have podcast episodes on that too, on that Amazon Ads podcast. If anyone doesn't know, that's the podcast I host with Andrew Bailiff. We've got a whole episode on placements, and check that out. And then check out also the PPC Summit next week, where we'll dive deeper into it.
Very good. Awesome. All right. So next up, we have more questions. So folks, make sure to get your questions in now, because as we get to the end, we will most likely run out of time. It's kind of like in school, where you get to the end and then everybody starts asking their questions again. So we've got lots of questions here, but we will have even more questions as we get to the end.
We ended the 30-minute mark?
We will end at the top of the hour.
Top of the hour. Okay, so we got time.
Yes. Yeah, so we have 39 minutes left.
All right, I'll try to talk faster, though.
All right, no, you're doing great. All right. So Bart asks, I have heard from Brandon Young that they're only doing ads in one route. The next part of that question is, what is your opinion on a good percentage of auto campaigns to manual ones? Do you think he means routes, like auto versus?
Yeah, I'm not sure what route or I haven't seen what Brandon Young said, so not totally
I don't either.
sure on that one. Feel free to clarify. But for this question, good percent of auto to manual campaigns. My bidding methodology is I follow the revenue. Wherever the revenue is, that's where we go. Typically, as you begin scaling your manual campaigns, so for an auto campaign, let's just say you're only targeting close match in an auto campaign. I know there's 4, but let's just for simplicity, let's say it's just close match, right? That close match target for the auto campaign maybe has 100 different search terms that are all driving revenue at different conversion rates behind that. And you've got one bid that is kind of, when you're optimizing that close match bid, you're kind of taking an average across the performance of those all 100 and those search terms. And you'll have some search terms that perform better, that don't get as much spend or revenue behind them, because there are other search terms that are doing worse that are pulling down the average for that auto campaign. And so as you're trying to manage the A costs, and you have to account for those worst performers, you're missing out some of the revenue of the top performers, so you can't push your bids there as much. But once you harvest all those over to manual campaigns and you can be a lot more specific, you can drive more total volume by optimizing, by spending more on the top performers, spending less on the worst performers. And by virtue of just following the money, chasing the revenue with your CPCs, you're naturally going to see more spend happen on those manual campaigns. Just because it's more efficient, you're able to drive more total volume within the same target A costs. So for that reason, I don't aim for a specific split, but what I typically see is around 80% of my sponsor product spend is usually going to manual campaigns and around 20% to autos. And so when I'm auditing an account, and it's very often that I'm auditing an account, I just sort by spend, and like the top 4 or 5 campaigns, which are making up 80% of the account spend, are all auto campaigns. And to me, that just shows, okay, we haven't done enough on the manual side of things. That's not like I wouldn't say, that doesn't mean it's bad per se, but it probably means that the manual campaigns haven't harvested enough keywords into them to help that spend grow and scale on those, and probably haven't had enough like bid optimizations and placement optimizations to help those scale as well. So usually just normal keyword harvesting, good campaign structure, and bid management is naturally going to shift a lot more spend over to manual campaigns. So I don't aim to target more spend there. That's just naturally what happens as we're chasing revenue.
Got it. All right. Abdullah, got a lot of good questions. Asks, you're managing 11 accounts, but one of my friends managing 70 plus account by single hand. Is that a question, or is that
I think it's just like a comment, but I would not recommend that. I mean, I will say the accounts that I manage, I charge a premium because of the exclusivity of only working with a few accounts, and none of our bid management is or none of our management, I should say, is automated. We do everything manually. A lot of bulk adjustments through AdLabs, which is the tool that we built, but that's like a semi-automatic, like still very manual hands-on system. So the reason why I would never want to work with more than the current amount of brands that I am working with is because of the brain share, just like the mental capacity to be thinking about my brands throughout the day. What I tell my clients is that part of what they're purchasing when deciding to work with me and paying the premium that I charge is they're buying my shower thoughts, right? And so I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about, some stuff I got to work on, and then some of my best ideas pop up in the shower as I'm thinking about these accounts. And if I have 70 accounts, not everybody can get that valuable thought that comes. So that's a big part of what I offer.
Well, and if let's say someone has 70 accounts and they work 70 hours a week, and they can devote 1 hour per week per account. Like, the math for we're talking about an agency, like, as Stephen Pope will say passionately, once you get past 40 accounts, you need to have more account directors. So account directors oversee, like, let's say we call them brand managers, but basically your account manager, the person dealing with the client. You can't manage clients and manage the button pushing on 70 people. Now, maybe this person says, oh, my friend does it. Well, what quality of a job are they doing? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've got it all down and the rest of us are wrong. Yeah. But if somebody wants shower thoughts, they're going to have more time devoted to their accounts. But that's an interesting, we'll just say that's an interesting conversation, Abdullah. Thank you for bringing me that. All right. Bart asks another question. Is it that I'll let you read the question because I'm about to cough.
Yeah. Is it true that your observations that CPC of the same keyword and exact phrase in broad can be different, even if we talk about the same search term? So I think the question here is saying, I can have exact match tape measure, phrase match tape measure, broad match tape measure, and all of them triggered a one-to-one correlation with the search term. Mm-hmm. And the theory is that you can get cheaper CPCs for that same search term on a broad match or on an auto campaign even compared to the exact match, because people bidding on exact, those can be a lot more competitive CPCs, whereas bidding on broad CPCs is not quite as competitive. I would say that the jury's still out. Andrew Bailiff and I were really trying to test this, but it was really difficult to get, we couldn't always get the broad match to win the one-to-one search term that we were aiming for. So it's really difficult. I would say the opinions are split. I think I still tend to believe that you can get cheaper CPCs and for the same keyword in the same placement. Andrew disagrees. He thinks when you see a cheaper CPC, it's just because of the time of day that it was. Like, maybe one campaign capped out a budget, and the other campaign ended up getting some clicks at a cheaper CPC or whatever. So I would say we haven't, with all of our testing, it's impossible to perfectly isolate these variables because there's so much that happens. So inconclusive data, but I'd say just go with I'd say do what your preferred method of management is. If you really like the isolation and one-to-one thing, go for that. If I personally don't care, I just let whatever search terms appear wherever and just go with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of this might be somewhat of a controversial take on it. But I think at the end of the day, Amazon, this might not be an actual metric they look at, but they probably are looking at this one way or another. We think of it as cost per click, of what we're paying for clicks and conversions and whatnot. They, I think, probably are looking at somewhat from CPM, like what is the cost per milli, per 1,000 impressions that product, that ad has for that particular keyword. But they're probably also looking at from revenue per mil. So for every 1,000-ish times they show an ad, what's going to be more likely to get a sale? And so if this product does really well with the exact match, they'll give it less. They won't charge as much per click because on the backside, their inventory of searches, they're going to get more sales out of it. So it's worth it to them. So that's what makes the whole thing kind of hard, because there's more variables than there are in other ad networks.
Right. Yep.
All right. You take a stab at that.
What is your PPC strategy for launching product in a niche?
The name.
Oh, Macier.
Macier. Okay, Macier. Sorry, I'll let you read the question.
Looks like another.
I'll take the next question.
Polish name.
Yes.
What's your PPC strategy for launching product in a niche where there are only 4 main competitors? Just start off targeting all 4 competitors. Okay, so it sounds like in that scenario, I would do because there's only 4. I would do single product targeting campaigns. So I would do 4 separate campaigns and target each of those individually. The reason why is you're just going to get a little bit more insights around how the placements are performing for each competitor, and you can do a little bit more optimization. You know, if you're going after 1,000 competitors, in that case, that's too many campaigns. It can be a little bit cumbersome. So in this scenario, I would just go with the granularity there. The thing to keep in mind though, product targeting does not mean product page placement. So you'll see when you're targeting these competitors, you can still appear at top of search, and even though it's product targeting ads, but a better way, and we did an episode on this as well on that Amazon Ads podcast, but I think it's titled "Product Targeting Isn't What You Think It Is," and the conclusion is that product targeting is really keyword index targeting. So it's whatever keywords that product's been indexed for, you're going to be going after that product. So wherever that product's appearing in search, you can appear in search next to it. So you're kind of following that product around Amazon. But the reason why I mentioned that clarification is some products might have really high CPCs, and it could be because most of their search terms are coming from branded search volume. So if there's a particular product that gets a lot of branded search volume, Amazon's usually going to charge you a higher CPC for bidding on another person's brand, just because of the ad relevance, ad quality score, you know? Whereas if you're bidding on your own brand, you're going to get much cheaper CPCs because you have a much higher relevance to it. So if you do see another product with really high CPCs, it could be an indicator of the type of traffic that they're getting, that the search terms that they're appearing on are either more branded or more competitive keywords. So for that reason, I think it'd be interesting to break those out into separate campaigns that you could see that placement individually. And then, of course, just, target all the same keywords that they're going after as well.
Yeah, definitely. All good points there. And, if they're going after products targeted, like ASIN targeting, we should say, would it be worth it to them to try out like complementary products too?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Because there's probably other things that people would use.
Totally.
All right. Good deal. Bart asks, what do you think about doing a campaign for the same keyword over and over again until it gets proper results?
If we're talking about a campaign's not working well, so you just like archive it and launch a new one and see if it like resets Amazon's algorithm or something. I don't think that works. They work in the EU. I don't know. I think we tried that. We did try this back in like 2020 with a client of mine, where around the whole COVID thing, a bunch of campaigns just like stopped performing and never came back. And so we just like archived those campaigns, duplicated them, relaunched them, and they seem to be doing a little bit better. But I think Amazon has since patched that. I think there's not a whole thing on like, I think back in the day, we used to put a lot of emphasis on like campaign history, campaign momentum, and treat that almost as its own, like Amazon has its own scoring for a campaign. I don't think they do that anymore. I think their algorithm is a bit more simplified and really for the better, where they're mainly looking at product to keyword performance. And that's it. Like customer types in a search term, how do these different products compare to that search term? And what's like the keyword product history, sales velocity, all that kind of stuff. I think that's the most important thing, because more recently we've had campaigns that have been running for sponsored brands, for example. We've got sponsored brand campaigns, some legacy ones that have been doing just getting phenomenal performance for many years, but they're legacy, and Amazon's deprecating them because they're not the multi-ad group sponsored brands. So we paused those, launched new ones that are multi-ad groups, and they picked up right where the last ones left off with the exact same performance. No momentum loss, nothing like that. So yeah, I don't think we need to put as much emphasis on campaign momentum or these little, there were a bunch of weird things with Amazon many years ago, bunch of quirks, things where like people would say, oh, once you have over 20 keywords, no other keywords can get impressions. Only the first 20 you add get impressions. I think Amazon's fixed all that stuff. So I don't see all those weird things. I don't think we have to play with black magic anymore and make up these conspiracy theories around things that make no logical sense, but people just seem to experience different results. I think Amazon's cleaned that up, so it's a lot more logical and straightforward, and things behave as they should. That's my
and I agree with you. I think there's going to be, at a certain point, there's history on people just aren't converting for that keyword enough for that particular product.
True.
And maybe you need more reviews to be competitive for that keyword. Maybe it's not the right targeting for that keyword. Like, marker all day long, you go after marker, but for a dry erase marker, like it's the same word, but it's different intent.
Yep.
All right. So Pro Hall Cosmetic asks, I need to create 2 listings using different ASIN with one EAN, basically UPC. The second listing will have another product listed, then connect it together via variation to share the reviews. Can it be done? I'll let you answer that first.
2 different ASINs with the same SKU?
Wait, with one EAN. No, you can't do that. So one product identifier, whether EAN or UPC, is one product. So in Amazon world, an ASIN is essentially a UPC code. It's just their version of it. So like if you take your product to Amazon Canada and Poland and Germany, that UPC code has the same ASIN everywhere.
Right.
Now, you can't say, I want to have a different ASIN for that. You can have a different SKU, but you can't have a different ASIN. So maybe, but you'd have to have 2 different ASINs to have child variation, which means you'd also have to have 2 different product identifiers, EAN, UPC, etc. All right, next up, Ali asks, hi, I don't get any sales without PPC and no profit with PPC. What should I do? How often to run a PPC campaign? Keep it on always.
Yeah. Usually when people get, so PPC is not, it's not the end all be all, right? The product itself is the end all be all. The PPC is the pay to play version of just driving traffic to boost sales. But if 100% of your sales are coming from ads and you're not getting anything from organic, then you've got to do, there's a lot of questions I got to ask here to clarify things, but it's likely a newer product, so it doesn't have much history yet is my guess, and that's why there's not a lot of organic sales. If the product's been running for a while and it's still not getting any organic stuff, then it's probably not a very good product, or at least the listing's not optimized compared to what else is out there. SEO simplified on Amazon. There's all these different things people will say, all these different hacks and things for SEO. I'd say that there's only 2 things that really matter, though, if you want to think about it in very basic terms. It's does the customer like you, and does Amazon like you? So does the customer like you? Like, are they buying your product, and are they happy with your product compared to everything else that's out there? That's SEO. Like it's not so much on like, oh, did you add all these keywords to the back end? Like that's part of it to help you be indexed. But if you're selling tennis shoes and you've got tennis shoes all over like your title and everything like that, and you're not ranking well organically, well, adding another keyword tennis shoes to like the back end or the alt text isn't suddenly going to make Amazon go, oh, these are tennis shoes. Okay, number 1 on search. It's not like SEO just helps. SEO or like indexation on the keywords is to tell Amazon what you are. Once Amazon knows what you are, what's going to be ranking you is, does the customer like you? Does Amazon like you? Does the customer like you? Are they buying it? Are they happy? Are you getting good reviews? Does Amazon like you? Is Amazon making money? Are they making good margins on what you're doing? So if you're not getting any organic visibility there at all, then it could be that your conversion rates are just really bad. And because the customer doesn't like you, Amazon doesn't like you, because Amazon makes more money when they put other products up there. And in terms of your PPC not being profitable, that could be similar issue that like your conversion rates aren't high enough. You maybe other people are able to afford $1, $2 CPCs because they're getting 10, 15, 20% conversion rates, and you're coming by with a 2% conversion rate. And therefore you can't afford those CPCs because you're not driving enough sales per click in order to afford the cost per click. So that's the primary issue there. So it could be that there's a lot of other issues going on with the PPC itself, and you got to do some bid management. But like I said, PPC is not magic. It doesn't fix all your problems. PPC does not drive sales. PPC drives traffic, right? So the objective of PPC is to drive the traffic that's most likely to drive a sale, by looking at keywords, conversion rates, all that kind of stuff. But the PPC itself does not cause sales. You were paying per click, you were driving the traffic. So that's why we're trying to do research around which traffic is the most likely to buy and put more spend there, et cetera. But after you drive all the traffic to the page, if no one's buying it, you have a product issue or a listing issue.
Got it. Definitely agree. At a certain point, it's all the PPC is doing is just getting the traffic there. You have to have a convertible listing, or a listing that converts. Convertible makes it sound like a car. How much do you spend percentage-wise on sponsored products, sponsored brands, sponsored display? But I'm asking about your Europe experience, as it's completely different from the US.
Yeah, people always differentiate Europe from US or India from US or Japan from US. I've managed accounts all over. They're very similar. The performance, the behavior, because it's all Amazon. Like the way in which the ads appear, all this kind of stuff. It's very, very similar at the end of the day in terms of, at least similar enough that best practices in one marketplace apply pretty well to others. There might be a few takeaways or a few key differences more on like the creative side of things, and because with creative you want to be a lot more relevant to the culture, right? So there might be different styles of communication, but as far as just like the PPC, like the keywords and the bids go, that's all going to be pretty similar. So same strategy here as to the other question about the splits between auto and manual. We just chase the revenue. So when it comes to sponsored products, brands, display, we are purely just going after how much wherever the revenue opportunity is the highest, that's where the spend's going to be. So I don't aim for a particular spend split, but naturally it usually ends up being around 80% of our spend goes towards sponsored products, and then maybe 20-ish% goes to sponsored brands, and then 5 to 10% goes to sponsored display. Sponsored display usually is a very small amount of our spend, and that's simply just because of the revenue. If you look at the conversion rates between products, brands, display, products have the highest conversion rates typically. Sponsored brands are a little bit lower than sponsored products. My theory is that because sponsored brands look very much like an ad. If a customer's searching on Amazon, sponsored products, they don't even realize all the time that those are ads. They think they're just like organic listings.
Right. Amazon makes them more and more not look like ads.
Exactly. Yeah. When it's a sponsored brand,
highly rated.
Oh yeah, highly rated products, or featured products related to this listing, sponsored. Yeah. So when people click on sponsored brands, they're maybe a little bit more cautious or wary. They're just like, okay, someone was advertising this to me. Someone was marketing this. I should be a little.
This is an ad.
I know. Yeah, like I should not trust it.
Right.
So conversion rates are a little bit lower, and then sponsored display, they're really low. And I think the primary reason for that is just because you got to think about what's the type of traffic they're driving. Sponsored display is usually appearing on like the peripherals of pages, or somewhere on like a product page, where product page listings or product page placements typically have the lowest conversion rates for sponsored products. And then if sponsored display is primarily product page placements where the conversion rates are the lowest. Why are they lower there? Well, because someone was their first choice, they were already looking at it. By default, you're a second choice. Someone already saw a product that they liked. They clicked through it. For whatever reason, it drew their attention, whether it was the price, the reviews, the image. That was their first choice. What appears on the product page, whether it's a sponsored product placement or a sponsored display, that's a second choice. They're going to open you in a new tab and see if they should switch over. And if you're not immediately driving a lot more value than their first choice, they're just going to go with the first choice. So the other reason why sponsored products spend so much, there's just a lot more placements, right? Sponsored brands, you get one top of search placement. Sponsored products, you can have 3 or 4 top of search placements, as well as the other like 20 different possible placements in search, as well as the other 200 practically, if you include the carousel placements on product pages. So there's a lot more placement opportunity for sponsored products. So that's typically going to be about 80% of spend. Sponsored brands, like I said, 20%. That already makes 100%. So there's not even room for sponsored display. But if you are doing it, sponsored display would take in, 5-10% there. I have seen for some accounts, sponsored brands can go up to 30, maybe even 40% of overall spend. That's for more unique categories where, number one, the CPCs are really, really high. So even though it's not driving as many clicks as sponsored products, proportionally, maybe the CPCs are like, 3 times, 4 times higher than sponsored products. So just the amount of spend there just to maintain the visibility is going to be higher. And that might work for brands where you either have a much longer consideration period because you have a higher AOV product, or you have a product like you're in the supplement space. You've got an LTV. You're planning on repurchases, so you can have higher investments there to really invest in that branding play to drive more longer term repeating customers. So in those unique scenarios, supplements, high AOV products, you might see sponsored brands get a little higher, up to the 30-40% of total spend.
Wow. All right. Next question comes in from somebody who's an AdLabs user. It says, awesome tool.
Nice.
Which AdLabs is the tool that Stephen came up with, which you can go to adlabs.app and check it out.
Yeah, it's a manual bid management tool that does everything we were just talking about with like the placements and the keyword bids, all that kind of stuff.
Next, 2 questions for you guys. Is there a general consensus? This is a controversial question on negating a long tail keyword in the broad auto phrase after moving it to exact. Question 2, thoughts on launching long tail overlapping campaigns. Oh, broad phrase exact. I was like, bro.
Okay, so you know what I just told? I was in Japan the last couple of weeks, and I was on the plane, flying back yesterday, and I was trying to do some analysis on one of my accounts around like long tail versus short tail, and I was like, what would be very helpful in a tool is a keyword count or a word count column. So I told the devs for AdLabs, I said, let's add this. So that will be coming out probably in a month or so, but we're going to add a column that counts the total number of words in your search terms or in your keywords. So then you can easily like group these also. You can see all of your words that are just 1 word long, that are 2 words long, that are 3 words long. And then you can group those into further groups. So maybe like keywords that are 1 to 3 words, you're going to call short tail, 3 to 6 words, mid tail, 6 plus long tail. And then you can aggregate the data around, short tail, long tail. So once we have that, I'll be able to do a lot more analysis into this question. But for right now, that first question, there is not a general consensus. It is controversial about negating those keywords after moving them to exact. We're planning on doing an Amazon PPC debate on this topic around after harvesting terms. Should you negate them? I'm of the opinion that you should not. Andrew is of the opinion that you should. And we're probably going to pull on 2 other guests who are also, divided on this. And we'll have a 2v2 Amazon debate on that topic. So we still have to schedule that. So be on the lookout for that one. And then thoughts on launching long tail overlapping campaigns. Yeah, again, my opinion is I don't care about overlapping. I'd let it happen because I don't see a downside. It's like, oh, the same search term appeared on my broad match and my phrase match campaign. Okay. So like they're both driving sales. It's not like once you negate from one, your sales, quadruple on the other one. I haven't seen that happen. And for me, it's a simpler workflow to just not have to do that. And simpler workflow means I can put more time and effort into the things that matter rather than spending a lot of hours trying to, have perfect isolation that, if there's people want no to make it impossible for the same search term to appear in two different campaigns. And they'll put a lot of time into that for virtually no real, sales boost. And I would rather put my time into other stuff. So that's my opinion, but it's not consensus at all. It is a divisive topic.
Very divisive. That's why I said it could be controversial.
Yeah.
All right. So Michael Mitchell asks, what are your average ratio of campaign types, exact phrase, broads? So you talked a little bit about sponsored brands, sponsored display, sponsored products percentages, but now what about match types?
Match types. Yeah. So similar thing.
It depends.
I follow the money.
Yes.
Wherever the money is appearing is going to be where more of the spend goes. So it depends on the strategy. So if you are negating, so if you have like a broad match campaign and everything that converts, you harvest that over to exact and you negate it from the broad, then obviously you're going to naturally be spending like 90% of your stuff on exact and way less on phrase and broad because you're negating all those terms because those are only functioning as research tools and not necessarily profitability revenue driving tools. For myself, because I like, and I'm going to see if I can pull open an example, because I personally like not doing that. I don't try to aim for that. I'm actually, let's come back to this question because I'm going to try to pull open something to see how exactly it's been doing in terms of the broad phrase exact stuff.
All right. We might have time to get to that. We might not. But
Okay.
Real quick, Bart says, I must admit that I'm using AdLabs from 30th of April. By now, I have great results, optimization, replacement. That's good. So maybe I should check out AdLabs. AdLabs.app, which is Steven's tool. Go check it out. Thank you to Steven for donating his time to come on this live stream to answer questions. All right. So next up,
I actually got am I able to screen share, Kevin?
Yeah, screen share it. I can bring it up, and then after you screen share, that might be our final thing to discuss.
Screen sharing is easiest with two monitors. Okay, should I move this to another screen? The screen might be...
That part I don't know. Just share it with...
Here we go.
Should be able to share it.
I think this should work, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so this is the AdLabs tool. So what we can do is I can drag and drop the keyword or so I can see now my keywords versus my product targets, 6,500 keywords, 2,300 product targets. And here I can see the spend splits, a lot more going to keywords than product targets. And then if I want to further break this out into match type, I can now hit these drop downs to see product targeting exact category auto versus phrase exact broad. So on this account in particular, more of the spend has been going to phrase match. A lot less spend going to exact, although you can see exact's actually doing much better in terms of ACOS. But we did just launch a whole slew of campaigns that were more phrase match. So this hasn't really, so these aren't super dialed in like these bids and performance and everything. But over time, because the sales and conversion rates, look at that 23% conversion rate here, seeing the revenue chasing the conversion rates, we should see a lot more of that, the spend going towards where the opportunity is. Same with these category items, could probably start spending more there. So that's, yeah, just a quick idea of what that would look like.
Got it. All right. So if somebody did want to sign up for AdLabs, how do they do that?
It's free to sign up. No credit card required. www.adlabs.app. There's a pro version too you can upgrade, but we do have a completely free version so you can optimize your bids.
What's the difference in the pro version and the not pro version?
More stuff. We have like just more stuff. Like on the free version, you can only use the last 30 days of data. And on the pro version, we store your data permanently, so you can optimize based off of the last like 6 months of data.
Got it. Okay. So does it tell you if you want to stay on, like what the price is?
Yeah, so we're still working with the prices, but $80 a month is the current one. We're going to be reworking that model a little bit to make it work for everyone. But maybe we'll create a. If you reach out to me and if you send me a message, saying just DM me on LinkedIn or whatever, you can even on that little chat bubble down in the bottom right corner, you can send a message. Let me know that you came from the My Amazon Guy PPC AMA, and I'll give you a deal.
Awesome. And if you want to get more of Stephen, because we are running out of time, we do have the PPC Mastery Summit next week, which you can grab a ticket for less than $10 to see Stephen and about 20 other amazing speakers. Just go to ppcmasterysummit.com. But before we leave, I think we should do a giveaway. In fact, we will give away a VIP ticket to the summit. So if you'd like to get a free VIP ticket to the PPC Mastery Summit, all you got to do is put in VIP in the chat, and we will pick one winner. Depending on, we'll do a giveaway. We'll pick one winner, but to be entered to win, you must type VIP as in very important person into the chat, and Stephen will help me pick a winner. But don't worry, I won't make him pick by name. It'll be like by number or something random.
I was gonna say, is it random, or do we just look at who's got like the best profile picture?
There you go. That could get us into a lot of trouble. All right, so Arlene is signing up now, which I'm not sure if Arlene is signing up for AdLabs or the PPC Summit, but thank you,
Hopefully
Arlene.
both.
Either way, probably both. Yes. So if you want to win the VIP tickets, we've got Kim wants to win, we've got Jeffrey wants to win, we've got Michael wants to win, we've got Subsify wants to win, we've got Asan, we've got Gingerlyn, we've got Bart wants to win. Oh, Arlene is signing up for AdLabs. So congratulations, you got another user for AdLabs. Please consider joining us at the summit. Diego says VIP, PT says VIP, Arlene says VIP. So this is going to be our last call to pick someone who's going to get a free VIP ticket, which is going to be worth over $200. You get lifetime access to the summit. You get to come to a special VIP Q&A session and some other goodies. So with this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
10,
8, 9, 10. So now, Stephen, pick a number between 1 and 10.
Oh, 1.
1. Okay, 1 was Kim K. So Kim, all you got to do is email kevin@myamazonguy.com and let me know that you were the VIP winner and you get a free VIP ticket to the summit. If you already have a VIP ticket, I'll hook you up with something else. So all you got to do is email kevin@myamazonguy.com, let me know that you are the winner, and we will go from there. So on that note, thank you, Stephen, for sharing your knowledge, and definitely recommend folks go check out adlabs.app to get your free tool for PPC optimization. You can optimize going back 30 days for free with your tool.
Yep.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I think you're also limited to sponsored products only.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, the other one you get sponsored brand, sponsored display, some other cool tools. But thanks for having me on, Kevin.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Kim K says, thanks, guys. Probably because she was the winner of the VIP ticket. Kim. But everybody is a winner because you can get free access to AdLabs, and you can also get, for less than $10, access to the ppcmasterysummit.com, or go to ppcmasterysummit.com and get access to next week's summit. The time's running out to grab a ticket to that.
Yeah.
Because after the summit's over, you won't get to see Stephen's great presentation, which is going to be all about modifiers and how you can more profitably use modifiers. So I'm excited to check that out because we record that tomorrow.
Yep. Very excited for the summit. Stacked lineup, as always.
Stacked lineup, as always, we try to make it that way. So awesome. Thank you. And appreciate everyone being on here.
Thanks, guys. See ya.